Well, I think the community advisory board is so critical, so crucial to have because people with lived experience usually already have the answers. Research is behind. We're trying to catch up and figure it out. Where the community has been saying that racism was driving these disparities as long as I've been in the work. Um, and then, research just recently started looking at racism instead of race as driving these disparities. So I think it's super important because they're able to bring and provide a lens and perspective that the institution and the organizations don't necessarily have.
So as I was thinking about setting up the Preterm Birth Initiative, what it would focus on and how we would do our work, I started looking to the field of HIV, and particularly in San Francisco, where HIV, the legacy of HIV, is something really to recognize and admire. In the course of 30 years, a terminal disease is now perhaps less chronic than diabetes or hypertension. And how did that happen? Well, when you actually look at the history, you see that the research changed. It started getting good. It started getting relevant. It started making a difference once the community voice got loud enough to get attention. We need to look outside the scope of the box that sort of we're contained in when it comes to women's health, and in particular reproductive health and pregnancy. You have to look to other fields. You have to look for other disciplines who are making progress in a totally unrelated space, but what are they doing that's different? We hadn't been doing that. And it started to become clear to me that the how we do the work was just as important as the work itself, if not more important.
When I first started at the California Preterm Birth Initiative, the Community Advisory Board was the first task that I set out to do. And the intention was really to bring in the voices of those who are directly impacted by preterm birth to guide our research portfolio, to really tell us what research we should be funding, what things really didn't make sense for our community. And the Community Advisory Board was made up of doulas, lactation consultants, midwives, social service providers, who all had a stake in improving preterm birth outcomes.
One of my favorite memories was a retreat that we had. The CAB organizers had really created a healing space for all the Community Advisory Board members with training, like a training session on, racial equity and birth justice, to create that intentional space for healing and for rejuvenation and restoring. Felt like such an amazing thing to do together, and I think gave us more energy to continue with the work.
We decided to host a symposium, not in the traditional academic way, but really wanting to do something different and taking it out of the institution and into the community. We hosted a very large convening of folks at the Commonwealth Club and wanted to integrate music and culture. And also our Community Advisory Board members stepped up and actually did spoken word performance to highlight some of the challenges that they felt doing this work. It was such a beautiful mosaic of speakers and performances and voices that it just blew everyone away. The other big thing that we did at that time was really bring up the issue of preterm birth and racism. That was really a turning point for us, moving away from the traditional way of thinking about this issue to a new frontier. We also had a rally at City Hall in San Francisco where advocates and folks shared their stories. We had drummers, we had performance at City Hall, we had chanting, and folks rallied there. We lit up City Hall purple, and it was just a beautiful coming together.
Having a community advisory board it's not only very meaningful, but it's something you need to take very seriously. It's something that, quite honestly, takes money takes time and commitment. And we are very lucky at the Preterm Birth Initiative that we had the money to pay people for their time and expertise of their lived experience, and to have our own division for community engagement and partnership with a director who was responsible for making sure that we were doing this right. And it has really been at the core of everything we do. And I want to say, even though it's at the core of everything we do, and we state that emphatically, it has been a journey. It does not mean we did it right, even when we thought we were doing it right. And I think that's something really important to keep in mind. Have the humility, develop a thick skin, step out of yourself to realize this problem is much bigger than you. It's not about you. We wouldn't be who we are without the Community Advisory Board.
Oh my God, I've learned and grown so much as a professional. Like, I don't think I could be doing what I'm doing today without the experience that I've had at the CAB. I have been able to have boundaries and like really, really honor my values and my purpose because of the example that people model for me at the advisory board. Like, before then, I used to please. I was, like the brown immigrant woman who wants to make your life easy and comfortable. Like, I would not dare to rock the boat. And these days, oftentimes, I will rock the boat and I'll walk out. And I have PTBi to thank for that.
Some of the other things that the CAB have influenced are the CAB members actually help researchers to develop their ideas, to create research projects that community members actually want to be a part of, and that they see themselves in, and that they, and knowing that community is a part of. The other really important thing is about dissemination. So traditionally, research writes manuscripts, and that is how we've always looked at how you disseminate research results. Not when you are working with community. Researchers need to go back to those community members, to the participants, to tell them about the results. And you know why that's so important? A, they spent their time and gave their trust, but B, they should be a part of next steps. What happens with what you just figured out from this research study? How is it going to make a difference? How do we carry this ball down the line and not drop it? Our CAB members also made a tremendous impact in having us focus on the structural issues that have been at play, pushing the boundaries on policy and coming to the table, again, learning skills, collecting data, holding interview groups and focus groups and testifying to our board of supervisors and making policy change happen. And that translates to real change for real pregnant women. And we've made incredible strides in housing insecurity, food insecurity, doula care, and access to doulas that are culturally concordant. Our CAB members made these things happen.
Over time, as we got more comfortable as CAB members with the organization and built relationships with people, and really were like diving deeper into the work and getting acclimated and understanding what was going on, then the CAB was like, look, that's cool and all that you're doing these research proposals, but more has to happen. And so what the CAB was able to bring to PTBi was that people don't even know preterm birth is an issue. I had my baby at 34 weeks, so did my mom, so did my auntie. Like, it's common, right? So people are not even recognizing that it's an issue. And so out of that, the Voices for Birth Justice campaign was born. And the Voices for Birth Justice campaign is fabulous. It takes people that have lived experience, so parents, and also people that work with moms and babies and families, and brings them to the forefront to tell their stories in their own words.
The voices of all of those who have been part of the CAB for these many years have been so impactful to all of our thinking about the issue of preterm birth and beyond, really moving us from this thinking around the condition and it being solely focused on the biological impacts to really thinking about the structural impacts and moving away from, communities inherently because of our background, whether that be our ethnic background or our economic, background, moving away from that and saying, actually, it's about the system and it's about racism. The Community Advisory Board has been that voice of reason to say, this is not natural, this is not normal, what is happening in these systems. And even though this has been business as usual for so many years, this is not okay. And this is why. And being able to have a cohort of strong, powerful voices that are in solidarity together and in union together saying, this has been our experience and we're here on the front lines. We've also, our moms, we also are in our communities day in and day out. You can't deny that. And when you have that strong group, I think that it's very different than having that individual voice.
We don't just want to be holding institutions accountable for the harms that they've done to our communities. We'd like to be a part of creating solutions. And we would like to ensure that these cabs aren't just sign-offs, like to make folks look good.
We had to learn a lot by experience. And by that I mean, we spent the first couple of years of the initiative not using the word racism. We focused on health equity and health inequities and health disparities, but nobody said it.
I would not have switched cab members every 2 years, because I think that every time we got momentum going and we were focused and moving and building relationships with researchers, and as soon as everything was okay, we're going, and then it was oh, we gotta stop and bring in new cab members and teach them about the work that we've been doing and teach them about, acclimate them to what the cab is and what research is and why we're focused on preterm birth. I also think that we needed a planning year initially, the cab, just to figure out what it was that we wanted to do, because it was a lot community driven, which I loved. But it took us a long time to just kind of focus down and figure out what we wanted to do.
A relationship and a bond can't be limited to a term. That this work is more than just a job, but it's life work. Having a space in which Black women are safe and are acknowledged, and redirecting that this is where we need to be. The work is not done. We can't move over here. We can't hop into other fights. We need to stay in this one fight, because this one fight is the fight that we need to focus on so that we can have a safe place for women.
Something that I think maybe was a missed opportunity or a late opportunity was really diving into the education of community, diving into maybe creating different policies. A lot of us, either professionally or personally, the reproductive justice and maternal mortality and issues of those are so near to us. It was, our feelings were involved. And so although there's this whole life in academia and life from community, and as much as, we tried to gel that together, there were still some things I think we didn't understand. There was a time when we took a look back at some of the research proposals that we funded, and there was a large number, a large dollar amount, but when we sat and looked back at was the representation of people doing the research representing and mirroring the populations and people who were experiencing the worst outcomes, and it just kind of felt unfortunate that it didn't feel that way.
we're going to build from something that was an initiative to a center, an entity that can provide technical assistance, that can have national influence, then to invite other research groups who are not going to have the resources it takes to do this right from an individual project, but to know that they can pay into this infrastructure, get a piece of it. So I think that not reinventing the wheel each time is really important.
You know, what we do at PTBi is very important, is very serious, is urgent. And I think that sometimes in the urgency of the reality of babies dying, you know, and being born too soon, we lose ourselves. We need to sometimes pause to connect with ourselves, with our purpose, why we're doing these things, with each other, to reflect. And I think there were moments when the world was closing in on us and there were important decisions that had to be made. And I think we moved too fast. I think that that's what I would do differently. In those moments when it feels like something has to be decided, like right now, or the world is going to end, to stop, to pause, to walk away from it. Because from that place, you know, we're activated. We are not able to connect to our heart, to our values, to the land, you know, underneath us. And we need that. We need that to be able to make decisions that will have positive impacts, you know, and will not inadvertently hurt people. So I would say that, and it's extremely hard to do. But I think one way to do it is to build it in the budget. If there isn't money to pause, you know, and for well-being and taking care of each other and relationships, that pause and that connection will not happen.
I wanted to do this work because when the time came for my daughter to have a child, that I wanted her to have a safe birthplace, to be respected as a Black woman. Through the growing pains, yes, there have been some, but I have to say first and the most important, that I created a space in this work that my 19-year-old, she will be able to give birth and be respected, be honored, be heard.